it's Liz Yuille from Old Stables Crafts. Thank you very much for joining me again today. I am filming this on what has already been declared as the warmest day in the year so far. So I thought we'd go to the seaside because it's about 30 degrees in my studio at the moment. So yes, I could do with a sea breeze. So I'm using the Sending Sunshine stamp set. It is on page 111 of your new annual catalogue. So here it is. There are some samples. The suggestion is that you might like to use a brayer. You can get lovely sunsets and silhouettes and such like. But this is the card that I have designed for today. And I thought I would show you how to make it. It actually only uses 4 ink pads. So it's reasonably good on ink pads. I've got a scrap of Whisper White, which I'm going to use for the middle, and that's kind of the bit that I'm going to be doing first. I do need a piece of rough paper, and this is actually the back side of the piece of paper that I had down here just now, and I did quite a lot of stamping off, so hence it's bleeding through a bit. But anyway, the colours that I am using are... one's missing, there it is. So Sahara Sand, Seaside Spray, Granny Apple Green and Mango Melody. You could probably switch out Mango Melody and Granny Apple Green for any other orangey yellow, so Crushed Curry or Bumblebee. Bumblebee is a little soft, but Bumblebee may work. And Granny Apple Green, it's just for the greenery around the water's edge, so any reasonably light green, Pear Pizzazz, Old Olive, but I do like my Granny Apple Green. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is the sea. So I've got my Seaside Spray, and I'm actually going to do this in reverse order because I find it easier that way. So I'm going to use the smaller of the 2 sea images first. This is a distinctive stamp, so it does most of the work for you. All you need to do is make sure you have inked it up well. And then I'm stamping off once, and I'm coming so that I'm going to be about, I don't know, between halfway and a third of the, halfway and 2/3 of the way up the page. That sort of level. And stamp that down. And that is our first bit of sea. And then the second bit of sea is, again, Seaside Spray. I'm just going to pop that out of the way. And you stamp it off once, twice. And the reason I say it's easier to do this one second is because I can then see where I've stamped the first one, particularly if I stand on tiptoes, so I can see over the block. And give that a really good press because that is going to be very pale. And as you can see, it is very pale, which is what I want. So that's how I planned it, as it were. Now, while I've got the Seaside Spray out, I am going to add some clouds. So I just need to do a quick bit of changing round of blocks. And finding one of these stamps would be... Oh, there it is. I'd put it somewhere not on its little home. So, Seaside Spray again, and we're going to go 1, 2... Actually, I think we'll go 1 really good stamp off, and just come in from there. And 1 really good stamp off. Now the reason I say a good stamp off, if you hold it down for longer, more ink transfers. And I'll come in from there. And then my little bunch of clouds. Again, I'm going to do a good stamp off and just have those there. Now they may or may not all end up in the picture, but that's fine. They don't all need to end up in the picture. So that is almost all of the Seaside Spray I need to do. The only other thing I need to do is the sentiment. So I'll do that while I have got my ink out. And this is just an offcut of Whisper White. I will be trimming it down to within an inch of its life, but I would like it to be reasonably straight, which it is. So that's good. Right, so that is all of the seaside spray that I need. So next I'm going to do the sun. So that's the Mango Melody. Oh, I've just realised there is one other thing I need to do in seaside spray, but it's fine. It's a long way off where we are now. So ink up your sun. Now, what I did find is that you've got this line across. I don't know if you can see it. Let me see if I can, let me stamp it down. Can you see that there's a line here? That is what you want to line up against the horizon. So here goes. Now, if you find it difficult to line up your stamps here, the two bits of C, you can use a post-it note. So you do one stamp, line it up, line up the post-it note, and then you know you're not going to go over the edge. So again, on to tiptoe, because I want both ends lined up. Hurrah! So that's that. Now, I've got a Mango Melody sponge dauber, and I'm just going to add my post-it note there, because I don't want this to go over the C, but I just want to add a little kind of heat haze round the sun. Just, can you see, I've just got this little haze around the sun. Post-it notes are wonderful things. Right, that is that done. So next I need the Sahara Sand, and this is where you have to have the courage of your convictions. So I've got a Sahara Sand sponge dauber, which is almost completely dry, and I'm going to come in from the edges, because those are going to be cut off, and just in a kind of gentle motion bring in some Sahara Sand. It's just so that it's not white. We are talking about a hot summer's day, so we can have lovely white sand as opposed to mud. So, as I say, you want an almost completely dry dauber. And if you need a bit more, add it on and then come in from the ends again before you go up into the middle. What you don't want to do is, let me turn it over, go like that. You don't want to see that splodge. You want it to be a circular motion from the moment you start. If you find it difficult adding the tiniest little bit of glycerin, which, because it's so hot, is almost liquid, it's normally gloopy and it's like water. Good grief. Sorry, I hadn't seen that it had done that. Anyhow, moving swiftly on, I need my little bits of greenery. So let's switch a block again and pop that back in its home. So Granny Apple Green. I will need some Sahara Sand again, but I can't do the Sahara Sand until I've done the Granny Apple Green. And all I'm going to do is just add some little tufts of whatever it is, foliage. Not all in the sort of same level, have some going in opposite direction, you know, coming up. And again, because I'm going to be die cutting, it may not all end up in the picture, but that's fine. Okay, so now Sahara Sand again, and this time I'm going to use it full strength. Let's just do a quick clean of that so I can take it off the block, because I want to use my little block again. So this is just a little bit of kind of dotty stuff like that, and it does really nicely underneath the plant. And you can do, as I'm doing, you can do both first and second generation. That I don't think is going to be anywhere near the original, near the picture, but anyway. So that's almost everything we need the Sahara Sand for, she says, suddenly realising we need the Sahara Sand for something quite important. So that's that. I'm going to just very quickly die cut it, and I'm using the dies from the So Sweetly die set, which goes with the So Sentimental stamp set, which is this one. So, and they're stitched. I think it may even be stitched so sweetly. So I've used this one for the Seaside Spray, and I'm using the next one down for the image. The only thing you have to get right with this is you need it to be square on the horizon. So it is worth just checking, and it's even worth putting a piece of post-it note or a bit of washi tape, something like that, and you can move it around until you've kind of got what you want in the picture, which is why it's always useful to start with a slightly bigger picture than you want to end up with. So I'm just going to run that through my die cutter, and hopefully that is straight. You can do mad things, which is what I'm doing, which is counting the scallops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hurrah! So it is hopefully square. And by square I mean square to itself. So let's, it's not going to come off easily. So here we go. It's decided to stick itself to my cutting plate. There we go. So that is that piece. Don't need the scrap, don't need that. Right, so for the Sahara Sand background, you could use a background stamp. I have lots of background stamps I could use, but I thought it would be rather nice to continue. Actually, I used the bigger, oh, it doesn't matter. There is a bigger cloud. Actually, I will use the bigger cloud. Let me just clean off my sentiment and switch that for the bigger cloud. As we have a bigger cloud, we might as well use it. Now, what would be quite nice is if you wanted to, and it's optional, you could add some seagulls, which you can get in the Come Sail Home, the Sailing Home stamp set. Has got, I think I prefer that side, has got, my brain's gone, has got seagulls. That's what I was trying to say. Sure it's Come. No, it's not. Maybe it's, well, High Tide, I think, has got some. Yes, High Tide has got some, and Sailing Home has got some. So either of those, if you wanted to add some seagulls, would be perfect. There's a tiny bit of fluff that's going to annoy me unless I take it off. That's better. And all I'm doing is a kind of zigzag across the page, but with second generation Sahara Sand. Sahara Sand is actually quite dark when you use it full strength, and I didn't want anything quite that dark. That is full strength, even though it's going to dry down, but I didn't want it that dark. I'm going to actually turn this over a bit as well, so that it doesn't look quite so much like I've used the same stamp all the time. Of course, it's now going to look like I've used the same stamp on one half of the card, and let's turn it over again. So, as I say, I'm just adding that, didn't ink that properly, just adding a little bit of texture onto the background, and, you know, make sure you've got some coming off the top as well. So that is how pretty much dry, particularly bearing in mind the heat in here. It is quite dark, as opposed to that, which is a much lighter finish. Right, we can put it together. I do need to just grab my Seaside Spray for one final thing. So this is just a piece of Thick Whisper White, and my bone folder was on my desk. There it is, it's hiding behind my stamp cleaner. So on the inside, I thought it would be a bit of fun to just have a little bit of the sea coming back in. So all I'm going to do is ink up one end of the stamp, stamp it off once, and then just bring it in, come down a bit I think, just bring it in there. so that we've just got that sea coming into the inside of the card as well. You could add all sorts of things to it if you wanted. You could have the greenery and the sand, anything you want really, or nothing at all. So let's get rid of that and start making up our card. So I'm just going to use some multi-purpose liquid adhesive, which is very liquid at the moment, and pop that down and press from the back. Then I'm also going to use that for my Seaside Spray scalloped stitched rectangle. Say that quickly 5 times. And that looks sort of square on itself. One of the bonuses of having a pattern on the background is it doesn't look so obvious if it's not totally straight. So that's that. Then this I'm going to pop up on some dimensionals. So phew. Well, I hope if you're in the UK, I hope you're enjoying the weather. I think actually in the north it's not so nice, and I may mean the north of Scotland. We are, well, when I'm showing this, we will have been hopefully swimming the afternoon before. We're off to a wild swimming hole, which we do quite often. I haven't done it for a while, obviously, because of the lockdown, but historically we have done quite a lot of wild swimming, which just basically means we're swimming in not a swimming pool. Right, okay, so the only other thing I need to add to that is, I don't know if you can tell, I've got a bit of wink of Stella on here. Is it catching a wee bit? Yes. So I thought because it was the seaside, we'd have a bit of wink of Stella, which I had lost. I was trying to find it on my Facebook Live. Could I find it anywhere? No, that's because I put it in a new home. So I ended up having to open a new one, so I now have 2 going, which is fine. So that's just, you can go over the sun a bit if you want as well, but I'm going to keep it just on the sea, and it's just a little bit of nothing in particular. It's not an important, it's just a kind of nice to have. So I'm going to use my little mini chopper, which I was fortunate enough to get when they were available for demonstrators before Celebration came along. And then they were one of the Celebration perks for joining my team. Of course, at the moment, the perk is to add any bundle to your starter kit. So you can add any either stamp and die or stamp and punch bundle to your starter kit for free. So if you are thinking of placing an order that is, I would say, anything approaching £80, please don't place the order. Please buy the starter kit. You don't have to sell. You don't have to do anything. You can just enjoy the discount and make the most of being part of the Stampin' Up family. Right, I'm going to take my life in both hands and stick this down and then trim it to fit, because I want the tiniest, weeniest, teeniest little bit of Seaside Spray poking out round the edge, and I do mean the tiniest, weeniest. Oops, yeah, that'll happen when you use liquid adhesive. That's better. So, fingers crossed. Concentrating. Can't concentrate and talk at the same time. I think I got away with it. I did. I got away with it. Hurrah and la la. Right, I'm going to use some of my Seal Plus just on the end of my sentiment. and bring in a piece of this ribbon that was in last year's autumn winter catalogue and is still available, and it's carried over into the new catalogue, and it is Seaside Spray with a little bit of silver in it. So I thought it would be perfect just for a little bit of something, nothing, you know, frou-frou on the end of our sentiment. May want to move that along a bit because I want, yes I do. If I can get it off, that is, because this stuff is very, very tough. So let's try that again with less of the ribbon under the sentiment. That's a bit better, I think. Yes. Right, so I just want one dimensional on the very end, and then some of the edge bit along the edge, surprisingly. And I want it on this edge because it's the bottom that I want it on. So let's just pop that down and pop that down, remove the backings, and then all I've got to do is add the gems and we are done. So this is going to come all the way to the edge of my card, and then I want the ribbon to come all the way over the first die cut, like that. So that is that. Then I'm using some of the frosted and clear epoxy spots, which I am hoping carried over, otherwise I would change. Let me see, embellishments. I'm sure they carried over, but just in case, they did. Frosted in clear epoxy droplets, there they are. I thought I'd seen them in the catalogue. I need to tidy out my embellishment boxes and get rid of what's not with us anymore. So I'm going to pop one just on that little scallop there. I'm going to grab a large one to pop, and these are actually the frosted ones. I thought it'd be fun to have the frosted rather than the clear. And then this one I'll pop in just up there. You know me, I like threes and I like triangles, so I have threes and a triangle. So there you are. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm loving this set. I think it's going to go with lots of other sets as well. So don't look at this just in isolation. Look at it with other stamp sets in mind. But if you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Do remember to subscribe if you don't already. If you want to see close-up photos and a bit more information, including the measurements, you will find those in the description bar. Well, you'll find a link to my website in the description bar below, and it will take you, if you follow the associated blog post, it will take you to the post for this project. Thank you very much indeed, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye!